Welcome everybody. My name is Duaneo Starfire, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to be a breaker. Now, first you must ask yourself, what is a breaker? A breaker in Mobius Final Fantasy is someone that keeps the enemy broken so that your attackers, defenders, and supporters can be able to do their jobs also while in multiplayer. What does it do? It basically takes the yellow gauge or red gauge at the bottom and breaks it all the way down. This one is located right below the HP gauge. What jobs are normally breakers? Most breakers are actually ranger jobs. However, there is a breaker that is a dragoon, and he is also a fighter style who has high attack but also high break damage. He also uses multiple different things, and I'll go into that a little bit later. As far as the classes, best or worst for breaking, and this is only my personal preference, other people might find this to be a little bit more one-sided. Personally for me, I will say that the best overall class for breaking at this current time is Viking. You also have Ninja, or not Ninja, Assassin, that is a breaker also. I consider this to be a glass cannon breaker. It has very high break, but very low health. Right after that, I would have to say Mystic Knight and Dragoon are also great for breaking. I really don't prefer Ranger and Hunter because they have lower health and they have less breaking power. The last and worst of the ones are your Neophyte Ranger, your basic job that you want. You'll probably want to use one of these other breakers besides using a Neophyte Ranger in order to actually be a good breaker for your multiplayer team. Alright, so you already know, now we know what a breaker actually is, but let's get into the actual cards a breaker is going to need in order to actually do his job effectively. Oh. So, first off, you're going to look at your character. You want, for your breaker, as basic stats, you will want your break power to be your highest thing besides your health. So your health, right here, you don't need to worry about attack power or magic in itself. You want your crit chance to be high, and you want your speed to be high. You might want to worry a little bit about your defense, but don't have too much of a problem if you think your defense is low. The next thing you're going to want to do is, in order to increase your break power even further, you'll want to make sure that your weapon has high break power on it. So, I currently have these daggers here. They also charge my ultimate. But also on top of that, they give me Exploit Weakness, which increases damage when I'm using an element that's against that target. Another good choice would be the Gigant Axis. It does drop my break power a little bit down, but increases my defense for survivability. Another thing that just got released currently this week are these axes. They're from the multiplayer from beating Shiva on 4-star multiple times. These actually allow for an increased even more speed, and on top of that, a little bit more defense, so definitely more survivability. They also give prismatic orbs, which allow you to do multiple attacks at one time. I usually will stick with these ones only because they have the highest break power. They actually come from the Assassin tree, and they are great on pretty much every single breaker I've actually played with. So, as far as next, cards. For cards, we're going to mainly focus on the rogue set of cards. I will show you what I use for my Dragoon, personally myself, but we're just going to go over what you need. For your cards, you're going to want to look at something like this. Death Gaze is an amazing staple to most breakers, because most breakers can actually use this effectively. Earth Cutter is an area earth attack. Not only does it do that, but it lowers defense against break. This is what you want mainly as a breaker, is lowering defense against break whenever you use this card. What it does is make it easier for you to actually break your opponent and for you to actually keep him broken. Also, on top of that, as you'll notice down here, the attack is lower, but your break power is definitely higher, so you can damage that yellow gauge a lot more quicker than most of your attackers probably can. Now, if you have a smart attacker, he'll actually be damaging the gauge with you, but you want to make sure that you are using this once or twice and that whole gauge is gone. Moving on, you want to make sure that all these slots are filled up, just because you want to make sure that you actually have extra things that you can apply to it. Down here, these are secondary job ones that can be added to it, so if you want to increase your bake ability, I increase my HP just a little bit more when I'm using Death Gaze. Remember, the biggest thing that you want on any of your cards is the fact that they are going to lower defense against break. Now, the next thing you want to look into is possibly using a poo-poo. Basically, poo-poos are the ability of using an ability that could increase the damage of that normal attack that you're dealing to break the cage, but is dealing more damage for several turns. Usually it's about 5 turns, and by the time this is ready to go again, you automatically have 1 turn left on it. What this will allow you to do is break the red gauge and the yellow gauge faster. So by using poo-poos, you not only can do that, but you can also use that effectively. However, another good thing about using a poo-poo card is if you feel that you are too weak or you're getting dealt too much damage, the best thing about the poo-poos is they cause resistance to that element. So, if you have a dark element such as Anima, or if you have a light one such as Ultima, you can use these poo-poos in order to actually mitigate damage coming at yourself. So, you can take them. Currently, I do not need these for my characters, only because I do not have them as far as that. Now, you also want a card that could actually boost your character. So, I actually have one right here. Prompto. Prompto was one of the cards that was released by Final Fantasy XV when the collaboration event was around. I was lucky enough to get them. What it does is not only does it actually hit the target, and it's break focused, but on top of that, it adds boost and snipe to me. On top of it just doing that, it lowers defense against break and defense against crit on the target I shoot it at. Now it's only a single target, but that could effectively break a Sicarius quick instead of using it on one of its defenders, as you can see fit. Now the other good thing about Prompto card is the improved criticals that it actually has. It increases my critical strike damage by 8%, so I get extra criticals going out, and my piercing break automatically goes up by 8%, which increases the damage to the red gauge. And lastly, I will actually say that you will want a support card. Support cards, I like to use the Regalia. What it does is add actions for the current turn. This will usually add about 5 actions per the current turn. It also allows me a life elemental starter, so I get automatically 1 life orb at the beginning, and a job recast, so I automatically can get another job on another ability right off the bat. Now, as you can see, most of my abilities, as you can see here, have high break power, even on both ends. So, overall, not too bad. Now, on auto, you'll notice that you'll get more stuff as you go down. But the biggest thing about Breaker in here is that you have increased break power up by 50%. Also, your ultimate charges off of your normal attacks, so you need to attack more the red gauge as much as you can in order to build your ultimate gauge. Those that do not do that do not gain their abilities fast enough, so you need to make sure that you're doing that. So, this is actually my Viking. I use Blade Beam, Death Gaze, Piercer, and Regalia. However, for the other support cards that you could possibly use for this, is Echo, which actually adds regen on you for 10 turns. Gives you Brave, which increases your attack. Gives you Berserk, which increases the damage at the cost of your own defense. And Cleaving. Cleaving allows you to hit every single enemy on the field, so if your attacker has already wiped out all their yellow gauges, you can use this and technically break every single target on the field. The last one I would suggest using, if you don't have either of those top two cards, is actually using Artemis. Artemis raises your break power for several turns, and you can actually use it very effectively to do higher break damage to the actual boss itself and keep them completely broken. Now, we've gone over the ranger type of breakers, but let's get the oddball that everybody's wondering about, the dragoon. As you can see on the dragoon right here, just by looking at its basic stats, he doesn't have high attack, nor does he have high break power, but he has about even on H. Also on top of that, his magic is about the same. For this, honestly, I use the multiplayer sword, even though most people would actually use the Dragoon Whisker, the Drake Lord. This one has increased crit, and gives me about 10 more break power. But I think about it like this. I'm going to have a little bit more survivability with this one than with this one here. What this one does is does an achievement chain, so if I keep on using the same element over and over and over again, so I'm using the ability instead of using my auto attacks, it does more damage. Yes, that's great, but that's not what I'm supposed to be there for. I'm supposed to be breaking. And extended break. That could help maybe a little bit. But overall, the multiplayer sword can actually do multiple things. Number one, it increases my health by 10%. It also gives me elemental third strike, which will allow me to get more orbs that I need every single time I do a normal strike. On top of that, I can get prismatic draw, which prismatic draw can give me a prismatic orb I need in order to boost my dragoon. Now, what do you think I'm actually going to do to make my dragoon most effective? I'm going to put one break defense down on that one, and then right from there, support the hell out of myself. So that way I can I can increase my break damage, get more attacks per turn, and on top of that, I can cleave the ever-living crap out of the target. And that's it. That's the basics, actually breaking. For cards at least. Now, there are two styles of breakers. There are ones that have a support that don't have any haste or any support whatsoever, so you don't have your regalia, you don't have anything like that. And two, the style of breaker that has a haste and a support, and both actually have different ways about going about them. We're going to go over each style as it comes up in our matches, but hopefully we actually get a support that always has haste. But we're going to go into some matches at this current time. I'll see you there. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and we are going to actually go ahead and do this one. I'm currently playing as Viking with my double daggers that you saw earlier in the video, and we're going to go ahead and take on this Sicarius. Now remember, I talked about multiple different types of ones, so we need to check if our healer here has a haste, and he does, so we'll be playing as that second type of healer. Looks like all of our guys are pretty decently geared, as far as that goes. A couple with some Supreme cards here, and we should be good to go. So, I'm just going to hit him with a Blade Beam, even though it won't do much damage, or anything like that, just to get the break defense down. That's all. Alright, my next biggest thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to wait for everyone to go first before me. Just basically to let them know that I'll finish it up. Just for them to do as much damage as possible. There we go. Get a little bit more breaking there. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to finish it off with an Earth Cutter, and then a 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to break it. You know what, I'm going to go first, because it looks like our guy up here is already loading up to take it out. So I'm just going to go ahead and go ham. So that way we can automatically just take it out quick. Now usually this is not what all breakers usually do, but sometimes your attack will want to get that double hit in. And that's what he's doing right now. So that's the only reason why a breaker would go first in this situation. Because as you can see, we one-shot it. Moving on. We are only 3 minutes into the fight and already on to Shiva. Alright, so the first thing we're going to want to do on this one right here is we're actually going to want to do break defense down. That's all we're going to do. Some people would want to do more damage on this one. Not very much. We just want to make sure that we get enough for this next one. Warrior alarms. He's going to try to go for a automatic kill. There, it looked like. Didn't work out too well, but did enough damage. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go Death Gaze, and then right after that Death Gaze, we're actually going to do a Piercer. And I'm going to break guard A. Actually, you know what? I'm going to break guard B, and then break guard A, and then do a little damage to the boss. So, Earth Cutter. I'm actually going to pierce the boss, only because it's the most effective out of this. So, 1, 2. Then, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 1. Oh, can't even go 1. And that should break it. Oh, my dancer did my job for me. So as you can see, we just want to do as much damage as possible. As much as we can on the target. So my job on this next one is to break him. And that's it. So, with that red gauge being that high, I'm just going to go ahead and finish it off. So I'm going to let them know I'm going to go first. automatically, I will do my ultimate. I will finish up with that. And that will be that. Now the dancer might get it first before me, because the dancer's one is a very good breaking tool. Such as that. However, if they didn't, mine would have followed right up with it. Right behind him. And that's game. And that's just one of the 3 that I will be showing you today. All the other 3 will actually be word chatted as to what is going on during that. So you can just easily listen back and watch.
輝きを攻める。うまくいったな。備えた。芸術点を仕留めるかな。
お手柄だね。Follow my lead. Please break.
予想通りの結果だ。
They were always so outside, but trapped in the friend zone.
燃えろ。どんな手も使う。どうとでもなる。
rest.
備え来い。
すごいよ、かっこよかった。あっぱれ。グッポポ
炎よ。ダメ。
失礼いたしました。
今だけ食らえ。命を粗末にした。俺の目の前から消えろ。お前には手が届かない。
Thank you guys for tuning in to How to Be a Breaker in Final Fantasy Mobius. I would like to actually say I put a lot of effort into this. I want to thank everybody who's actually viewed this video for their support. I plan to be making more videos for all the games that I play, to include Final Fantasy XIV, Mobius here, and any game that's actually suggested by my viewing community. I would also like to thank Dante Fido 4 on Twitch TV. He actually made an attacker video that actually prompted me to make this video for Breakers. He is one of the people I play with on Twitch and is an amazing attacker. You really should check out the video if you ever look to playing an attacker in Mobius Final Fantasy. As far as any other things from me, honestly, you can find me on Twitch TV also at twitch.tv/DuoNeo, also on Twitter at DuoNeoStarfire, and here on YouTube for all my highlights and all my videos that you guys would actually like to view. Again, thank you very much, and me, and Mog, will see you next time.